Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about how platforms like YouTube might contribute to the creation of shows like the recent Velma spin-off series. I made a separate video talking about the strange ecosystem that has emerged between game devs making what I call YouTube horror for kids. Stuff like Poppy Playtime, Five Nights at Freddy's, Hello Neighbor, Amanda the Adventure, and Garten of Banban are like the two new kids on the block for that. And YouTubers who play these games make Let's Plays, lore videos, and so on. Some of these videos from these YouTubers get millions upon millions of views, and the majority of their viewer base are young children, people who would be attracted to those sorts of games. And the younger the better. The audience demographic, realistically, are going to be children who still take spelling tests, for example. So why do I bring this up? Because consider what those children aren't doing while they're watching these videos, and the answer is absolutely anything else, including not watching content made by pre-established entertainment companies. Disney, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, all three of these companies produce content for children of that age range. But if you're watching Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 full gameplay video leaked, you're not watching SpongeBob. And that's just children. That's just a demographic of people who have school, homework, dinner time, and bedtime to realistically worry about. Maybe a few chores here and there, but they have a lot of free time. Consider what it's like to be an adult. You have a full-time or part-time job, you have to drive around and get groceries, you have to do laundry, you have to clean up the house every so often. There's just a list and list and list of things you gotta do at any given moment, which really takes away from the free time available to take in entertainment media. Hell, for this very video, you're either directly watching it, in which case your eyes are taken over by the TF2 gameplay on display here, or you're probably listening to it as background noise while you do something like some writing, or maybe some art, or maybe just doing chores around the house. And internet bill aside, this content I'm producing is absolutely free. Hell, to my knowledge, I don't even have any ads playing before or during my videos. It doesn't even require you to sign into YouTube to watch. So that's a pretty mighty competitor for any adult audiences in comparison to something like the Velma TV show, which is supposed to be an adult-based spin-off of the Scooby-Doo franchise, one that's found exclusively on Warner Brothers' HBOMax. Of course, you might have to have like a smart TV and be able to sign in and give them your credit card information and pay a monthly subscription to watch this new cartoon Warner Brothers has produced. Versus, as said before, just clicking on the video here and watching it for free without even needing to sign in. You can see how the path of least resistance can very easily win out in this scenario, even if potentially the Velma TV series is better than my videos, which, who knows. And it gets worse from there, because it might also have to contend with the prospect of you playing a video game, or going to a movie, or reading a book, or comic, or doing some hobby or activity. And again, all for a demographic of people with significantly less free time than the demographic those Poppy Playtime lore videos are going after. So, how does Warner Brothers get viewers for their new TV series? It's the very thing that people have warned each other not to do prior to it coming out, the very thing that Pitch Meetings video ended talking about, hate watching. They had to design the show coldly calculating it to be as unbelievably, unfathomably, mind-bogglingly awful in order to get viewers to effectively watch the show in order to boo at it. Now, you may think it's a bit odd that people would intentionally watch something that they know they're not going to like, all for the sake of shitting on it. But this is a behavior that's not all too rare with people. When Trump was still on Twitter, there'd be multitudes who'd reply to him, calling him an overall piece of shit. The very act of debating someone is engaging in a viewpoint that you're against, directly confronting something you might dislike. The internet has seen multiple content creators who've made a career out of directly confronting shitty, low-quality products. People like the Nostalgia Critic or Angry Video Game Nerd might be two of some of the biggest examples. The stuff they review, they know are shitty, but they derive entertainment and are capable of making a career out of entertaining others by talking about how shitty it is. Thus, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, 4chan, and yes, even YouTube gains a multitude of comments and videos from people who knew Velma would be shit, watched it, paid that HBO subscription feed, gave the show viewership, only to then return to each other and say, yep, it's shit, exactly as we thought it would be. And Velma is quite uniquely shit, because as opposed to the normal people who hate watch material like it, conservatives, moderates, and liberals who think identity politics are a distraction from the class war, there's even identity politics liberals who would say, we can talk about universal healthcare later, we need to address trans rights, saying that this show seems like it was written by a hardline conservative making fun of their politics. It uniquely alienates everybody. And evidently it worked out quite well for Warner Brothers, as they were able to report that the Velma show is the most watched cartoon on HBOMax. The fact that when Warner Brothers and Discovery merged, a ton of their other animated works were hard canceled, notwithstanding. In fact, that might even contribute to the amount of hate watching Velma gets, as people who might just not be very political and thus have no skin in the game of a TV show that's so firmly rooted in far-left identity politics are going to be incentivized to hate watch it to see why the fuck did Infinity Train get cancelled but not this horse shit. The sheer unique awfulness, of course, results in a lot of engagement from audiences, as said before, in places like Twitter, Reddit, or YouTube. I recall there was one direct comparison people frequently made between the panic attack scene in Velma and the panic attack scene in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, pointing out that the panic attack scene from the latter is handled far more accurately and respectfully to people who suffer from them. The palpable irony that a family-friendly movie handles what's arguably a mature subject far better than a TV show for mature audiences only. And if there is enough discussion and buzz about it, people who might not have previously known about the show might be inclined to watch it for themselves just to see if it's really as bad as everyone says it is. In that amusing sense, YouTube goes from necessitating that Velma be uniquely terrible in order to get any viewership at all, to indirectly promoting the Velma show through content creators ranting and raving about how terrible it is. The question might be, how do we know that this show was made with the intention of getting people to hate watch it in mind? After all, the main thing that people don't like about the show is the sheer amount of identity politics stuffed into it. Could it not have been made by true believers? Could Mindy Kaling or any of the writers of the show not legitimately believe what Velma is teaching? And I don't disagree that some of them might honestly adhere to some of the values the show espouses, but one of the very first things that you see on screen in the very first episode is two cockroaches fucking. Like I said before, there's people who firmly believe in identity politics discourse who think the show is a cynical, conservative take on their own views, and everyone who isn't them looks at the show like it's saying all of the quiet parts out loud. But what I think is that the overwhelming majority of the show's hot takes about race or sex or whatever is simply there in order to get people outraged over it and call it shit as they watch it. And the reason they even have to go through those lengths is you've just spent 11.5 minutes watching this video or listening to it, and not anything produced and distributed by Warner Brothers or Discovery. So that concludes that. I hope you enjoyed the video, that gave you something to think about and otherwise entertained you. Take care.